Hi, I'm Larry Dignant with Constellation Insights, and we're here with our security analyst, Chirag Mehta. Hi, Chirag. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Larry. How are you doing?
Good. So we wanted to, there's been the RSA conference. There's been, a few mergers and acquisitions, a lot of stuff going on in cybersecurity. So what are some of the themes that chief information security officers need to know about?
I spent some time at the RSA conference, recent conference, and I met with many vendors, but I also spent a lot of time chatting with many CXOs, and that included chief information security officers, CSOs, and CIOs. I heard few things again and again. So some of the things are, it's the same challenges that they've had, which is how do I make sure that I get budget for the program that I want to put in place, the security program put in place? How do I consolidate the number of tools that I have? So that's an ongoing theme. But there was a little more emphasis behind consolidation. The consolidation was not just that it's simple to manage, but consolidation from a cost perspective. So that's one thing that came up again and again. But two things that really caught my attention. One is the focus seems to have shifted from am I going to get breached to what happens once I get breached. So post-breach resiliency, where once you get breached, how quickly you can bring your system back up and what that business continuity looks like. And how can you prevent damage to your brand? And this is where board is asking questions to CEOs and CSOs and CIOs that what's going to happen if we get breached? Because many board members have simply given up on the fact that they have an amazing security posture and they will never get breached. I think they are facing this reality, and it's also what they are seeing outside. So that was one thing. Post-breach resiliency, where how do you focus on what happens once you get breached and what happens to your data, what happens to your system. And the second part is, for the first time, I saw that the discussion shifted from malware to identities. We know malware, it still exists and it just causes a lot of damage, but people never really focused on identity-driven attacks, where attackers are really after specific identities, stolen identities, to actually then attach ransomware or to lock systems down and ask for money. There are a lot of state-sponsored attacks too. But that's a shift we have been seeing, where people have been more focused on things that are not necessarily just malware, but on identities. So those were the two main things. And third is obviously the idea of this platformization. And platformization is a sort of new word that people have been hearing, which is not new at all. We have heard this word before. Platformization started with the days of operating systems, and then ERP, which is best of suites and best of breed. That's how we know how the package software works. But CISOs were concerned. The CSOs and CXOs we chatted with, they wanted more options. They didn't want to get locked down into a single platform. And that is a challenge. I sat down with Wall Street Journal right after Palo Alto Network acquired QRadar from IBM and shared some of my observations for the story that they were working on. But there is a serious concern.
So just to drill down on a couple of those themes, but if you're an enterprise, how should you think about your vendor landscape? Like, yeah, you want to consolidate it, but you also don't want to lose out on the innovation that's coming from the smaller companies, but you also don't want 50 vendors in there or more. How should you think about consolidating vendors in this market?
We advise all CXOs to re-examine their landscape every year, and in some cases multiple times a year. This is such a fast-moving domain when it comes to cybersecurity. And one of the things we advise, and one of the things we have heard constantly from CSOs, that they have been looking for systems that work well with each other. So if you're buying a system A because that's what you like, then A has to work with B and B has to work with C, because cybersecurity is a team sport. So if our recommendation always has been that when you examine, when you go through consolidation, don't go to a closed system, because you might be consolidating few tools, but you might be aggravating the problem unknowingly. So look for open systems, consolidate if you can. So that's one thing. Second thing is this more financially, CXOs and CSOs are renegotiating the contracts that they have. They are doing a true up on many contracts. And in this economic climates, they are able to secure a lot of discount from vendors on existing systems that they have, because once again, switching cost is just very high when it comes to any of the tools that you have in your landscape. And the third thing is finally the CSOs and CXOs have started focusing more on training side of the house. So it's a people problem. It's not just the tools are not going to do anything. How do you upskill people to make sure they understand how to manage these tools effectively? How do you drive adoption of these tools? You're going to get more value out of the investment that you have. And that also includes awareness training, which is how do you make sure that your employees understand the risk that they have when they are dealing with systems, their email, not fall for phishing attacks, and the number of the other social engineering techniques that the adversaries use to go after their identities.
And then on the data breach response, I mean, I've kind of noticed the response, shift too, where you're kind of like, well, it's going to happen, so we have to figure out our plans. How much of that? How much of future plans are going to be dictated by AI?
AI is driving a lot of automation, and which is a good thing. Because think about right now, we are placing human beings where human beings are compensating for lack of things that are lack of efficiency that machines can do. Machines can perform many tasks that humans don't even have to get engaged into. And unfortunately, that's not the case right now. But AI is really, really changing that. So what we are seeing with AI is twofold. One is from a cybersecurity perspective, the quicker or the sooner you figure out what the real threat is, the quicker or the faster you'll be able to respond to that. And usually that's has always been one of the slowest things that we see. Our CXOs we work with, and even not just our CXOs, but companies that we watch in general, they are not able to detect attacks in time. So using AI, where you can do more pattern matching to correlate telemetry, to connect systems, to automate many tasks, where you can detect anomalies and you can figure out that something is off, they are able to prevent some of those attacks. And we have seen that. We have seen AI actually do amazing things in that domain. And for post-breach resilience, the AI is doing many things. For example, one of the important things after post-breach resiliency is how quickly you can restore your backups, because applications are mostly stateless. Applications don't hold state. You can restart any application anytime, but you cannot get your data anytime. You have to restore your backups, and it takes time. And we have seen many AI-driven approaches that figures out the difference between your past state and current state and most recent backups and where your backups are, and being able to restore them so that you can get back to your business as quickly as possible. So we are seeing AI play a role in all dimensions, whether being able to respond to threats before a breach or before a potential breach. But if you do get breached, then how quickly you can restore your systems, how quickly you can get back to business, AI is playing a big role there too.
All right. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much, Larry.